What if the greatest discoveries in history were built on hidden suffering? What if the names we celebrate are not the full story? And what if progress came at a cost no one talks about? Behind science, medicine, and technology, there are stories that feel uncomfortable but real. Many breakthroughs were not as clean as textbooks make them look. Some were built on silence, some on loss, and some on ignored truth. That I end today's video. We explore the dark truth behind some of history's greatest discoveries. Each story reveals a hidden side of progress that changed the world forever. Let's get in. 1. The hidden role behind DNA discovery. One of the most important discoveries in biology is the structure of DNA. It is often credited to two scientists who built the famous double helix model that changed genetics forever. Their work became one of the most celebrated moments in science history. But behind this achievement was a researcher whose contribution was far more important than most people realize. She produced a highly detailed X-ray image that clearly showed the structure of DNA. That image became the key clue for the final model. However, this data was shared without her permission, and her role was not properly recognized at that time. Her work was essential, yet history highlighted only part of the story. She continued her research under difficult conditions and passed away young, before full recognition could reach her. Years later, her contribution started gaining attention, but only after others had already received global awards. Her case later became a symbol of how easily important contributors can be overlooked in major scientific breakthroughs. It also changed how research ethics discussions are handled today. Even now, her work is studied as one of the strongest pieces of evidence in molecular biology. Yet many students still learn a simplified version of the discovery. This shows how history often gets shaped by recognition, not contribution. 2. Space progress built on hidden history. Humanity's journey into space is seen as a symbol of innovation and achievement. Rockets, satellites, and moon missions represent progress at its highest level. But the foundation of this progress carries a darker background. After World War II, a secret program brought in experienced engineers from Germany to accelerate rocket development. Many of these individuals had previously worked on military systems during the war. One key figure later became central to space exploration programs and helped design powerful rockets used in major missions. His technical knowledge played a major role in reaching space milestones. However, his earlier work was connected to wartime projects where forced labor was used under extremely harsh conditions. Many lives were lost during production processes linked to these developments. After the war, much of this background was reduced or removed from public records to support scientific progress during global competition. His story remains controversial because it shows how scientific advancement can sometimes be built on morally complex foundations. It also raises questions about whether progress can be separated from responsibility. Some argue that without these scientists, space exploration would have taken decades longer. Others believe no scientific gain justifies ignoring past actions. This debate still exists in historical and ethical discussions today. 3. Medical breakthroughs without consent. Modern medicine has transformed human life. Vaccines, cancer research, and biological studies have saved millions of lives. But some of these advancements were built in ways that raise ethical concerns. One major biological discovery came from cells taken from a patient without informing her family. These cells had a rare ability to multiply endlessly, making them extremely valuable for research. They became widely used in laboratories around the world and contributed to major medical breakthroughs. However, the source of these cells remained unknown to the family for years. At the same time, another long-term medical study followed individuals with a serious illness, but did not provide proper treatment even after cures were available. The goal was to observe the natural progression of the disease. This continued for decades before being stopped, leading to global criticism and reforms in medical ethics. These cases later became major examples in medical training about consent and human rights. They also changed how modern research trials are approved and monitored. Today, these stories are used to teach future doctors about ethical responsibility. They remind the medical world that discovery without respect can damage trust permanently. 4. Surgery history built on pain. One important figure in medical history is often remembered for improving surgical methods that help treat serious complications in women's health. His work influenced early hospital practices and shaped modern procedures. But the way these techniques were developed tells a different story. Many experiments were performed on enslaved women who had no choice in the process. Some individuals endured repeated surgeries in order to refine medical techniques. These procedures were done under extreme pain, often without proper pain relief at the time. The justification was based on outdated beliefs about human sensitivity, which are now completely rejected by modern science. Despite this history, the techniques developed during that period became part of standard medical practice and helped future patients worldwide. This creates a difficult question about how to remember progress that came from suffering. It also challenges how history chooses to honor certain figures while ignoring those who endured the consequences. Over time, discussions around this topic have grown stronger in medical communities. Many now argue that acknowledgement of victims should be part of how history is recorded. 5. Industrial growth with hidden damage. The rise of modern transportation changed the world. Engines became more powerful, and vehicles became faster and more efficient. A key fuel additive played a major role in this improvement. However, early warnings showed that this substance was highly toxic to humans and the environment. Workers exposed to it suffered serious health problems, but production continued due to high demand. Companies involved minimized risks and controlled public information to protect business interests. As a result, the substance spread widely across air, soil, and water. Over time, it caused long-term health and environmental damage that affected entire populations. Even after its removal, its impact continued for generations. This shows how industrial progress can sometimes ignore safety until damage becomes impossible to hide. It also highlights how economic pressure can delay critical decisions that affect public health. Even today, researchers still study its long-term effects in different regions. Some areas continue to show traces of contamination despite decades passing since its ban. 6. The dangerous glow of radium. A glowing radioactive element discovered in the late 19th century was once considered a miracle in science. It was used in early medical treatments and quickly entered consumer products. It appeared in cosmetics, drinks, and even household items, creating a trend based on its glowing effect. However, its dangers were not fully understood or ignored for profit. Workers handling it were exposed daily under unsafe conditions, leading to severe health issues. Many suffered long-term damage that was later linked to radiation exposure. Even the scientist who studied it was affected by prolonged exposure over time. Eventually, its harmful effects became undeniable, and strict regulations were introduced. But by then, many lives had already been impacted. This story shows how something that appears beneficial can still carry hidden danger. It also reminds us that scientific discovery without safety awareness can turn into long-term harm. Even today, some early materials from that era remain hazardous and require careful storage. Its legacy continues as a warning in nuclear science education. 7. The invention that changed its purpose. An invention originally designed to help industries like mining and construction became one of the most powerful tools in modern development. It allowed controlled energy release and improved large-scale engineering. However, over time, it was adapted for destructive use in warfare, changing its original purpose completely. The inventor himself was disturbed by how his creation was being used and feared how history would remember him. After a mistaken newspaper report described him in a negative way, he began to reflect deeply on his legacy. He later decided to dedicate his wealth toward recognizing achievements that benefit humanity, leading to global awards in science, peace, and literature. This transformed his legacy from destruction to recognition of human progress. His decision also reshaped how future innovators think about responsibility. It stands as a reminder that invention always carries moral consequences beyond intention. And there you have the dark truth behind some of history's greatest discoveries. These stories show that progress is not always simple or clean. Behind major breakthroughs in science, medicine, and technology, there are often hidden struggles and forgotten voices that shape the outcome. While these discoveries change the world in powerful ways, they also remind us that ethics and innovation do not always move together. History often celebrates results, but rarely pauses to question the path that created them. If you found this video interesting, don't forget to like, share, and comment which story shocked you the most. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.